whenever you're ready.
You definitely have a quorum at this point.
Okay, Vinny, ready to go.
Okay. You want to put the agenda up on the screen?
Yep.
Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled monthly meeting of Community Board 5 and public hearing for the evening. Is Donald out there?
Yes, he is.
Donald, you want to do the flag or you need one? Hello?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh, lost the screen. Paul, you making noise, Paul?
No.
Brian, you making noise? Paul's making noise. Mute yourselves, please. Who's on the phone?
I think it would be good if everyone mutes themselves.
Okay. Can we get that back up on the screen? Okay, so first order of business tonight is our public hearing regarding rezoning at 7844 and 7846 Metropolitan Avenue, block 3776, lots 30 and 31, Middle Village, ULURP 2201332 MO. And who is presenting for Sheldon Lobel?
Hi, Richard Lobel presenting this evening.
Proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Once again, Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC. You've already met Amanda Spiro and Dr. Robert Thomas, who is the applicant for the 7846 Metropolitan Avenue rezoning. And as we will go through very briefly in the project materials, while there are rezonings which seek to upzone properties and add bulk to the property, that is not this. This is a rezoning which instead will allow this existing animal clinic, the Animal Clinic of Queens, to maintain its presence at the property and to add 2 additional residential units on top, which are intended to be used by staff of the clinic. Next slide. So we've got a summary of the application as was presented to the Land Use Committee. This is a zoning map amendment to rezone 7846 and 7844 Metropolitan Avenue, block 3776, lots 31 and 30. The rezoning would be from an R5 to an R5D C23 zoning district. And we can show some maps later on in the presentation which show exactly where the rezoning would occur and why it's appropriate. This amendment would allow for 7846 to add these 2 additional stories, and they're really kind of half stories, which would allow 2 dwelling units, would bring the existing legal non-conforming ground floor use, which is a veterinarian office, into conformance. The building and the veterinary clinic is legal non-conforming, meaning it's grandfathered. Putting down the commercial overlay in addition to the R5D district will allow it to become a conforming use, as well as the adjacent parcel. So the applicant anticipates, as we said, the staff would occupy these 2 residential units. Many times Dr. Thomas and his staff give full-time care, including overnight care to animals. This would allow for convenient 24-hour access to the facility, 24-hour access. This development would have a total of approximately 4,985 square feet, roughly evenly split between the commercial Dr. Thomas's veterinary office on the ground floor and the 2 residential units above. This will also bring the next door property, again, we'll show this on the map, into compliance, as that building is currently non-conforming and non-compliant. Next slide. So what do you see here? In very small print, you see the area of the rezoning. This is a current R5 district with no commercial overlay. What you can note from looking at the slide, and will be clearer on the area map 2 slides from here, is that there's a commercial overlay on the block to the west, to the east, and blocks to the north, northwest, and northeast. So this is really the only block which doesn't have a commercial overlay, and indeed, these 2 commercial uses here are grandfathered uses, but this would make them conforming uses. The next slide shows the tax map, which has in a little bit more detail the exact nature of the rezoning. Again, these 2 properties become R5D instead of R5. What's worth noting is that the R5D and the R5 have the same maximum floor area ratio of 2. So when you see the plans and materials which demonstrate the building, which would be here, the existing building with these 2 additional residential stories, that same floor area ratio, that same bulk is available under the current zoning. The difference, importantly, is that in the R5, you've got a maximum of 2 FAR, which includes community facility use. The R5D with a C23 overlay will allow that same maximum 2 FAR, but with this veterinarian use. So that's what's really important here. The idea is to try to keep the clinic at the site. Next slide. So the next slide has the area map. You can see why the bulk is appropriate here and why the rezoning is appropriate here. Metropolitan Avenue here, a wide street at 100 feet wide. Typically, that is conducive to commercial uses. In fact, here you can see the surrounding 6 blocks, all of which have commercial overlays. And you can see the orange and kind of burnt red coloring on our block. Those are other commercial sites on our stretch of block front. So these 2 commercial uses, again, become legal conforming uses. Importantly, the animal clinic there gets to remain. Next slide. So these are some pictures of the surrounding area. You can see that the building itself is there. It's in the blue awning. The next door neighboring building would be included within this rezoning. The reason is that building currently is built to R5D standards. It's a 1.77 FAR with 2 additional residential floors. And so that building comes into compliance once included in this zoning district boundary. In addition, the commercial use on the ground floor, which amounts to doctor's offices, would also become a conforming use. So there would be nothing that would change pursuant to that building. That building would merely become complying and conforming. That's the reason that we included it in the rezoning area. Next slide. So this slide and the remaining slides demonstrate plans which show the building and what would be at the site. I know that Spiro is on the phone with us and is able to address that, but quite simply, we can show you the layout. You can see the existing 1-story brick building would remain. And then there would be these 2 additional stories, which would be set back from Metropolitan Street as well as from 79th Street on the north. And those would be set back roughly 40 feet and then roughly 55 feet. So they're set back quite far from Metropolitan. It would be very unassuming as far as the view from the street. Next slide. And so you can just see the layout, the first floor being the veterinarian offices, and then the remaining 2 floors being the setback proposed 2nd and 3rd stories. I believe the remainder of the slides show kind of a rough massing of the site. And then the last 2 slides show pictures of the site as it would be constructed. You can see that massing shows what it would look like with that addition. Again, very unassuming from the street. And then there's a side view as well. So, in short, Dr. Thomas has been a valued member of the community and has provided these services for over 30 years. And so this would be a huge benefit to him. I know it's something that he's attempted for years in the past. And so this is kind of an opportunity which has presented itself. Again, this does not involve a change to the underlying bulk. The same 2 FAR and the same square footage could exist under the existing zoning and proposed. The only difference being that under the proposed, you would be able to get this animal clinic on the ground floor with the 2 residential units above. And with that, the applicant team, including Dr. Thomas, is available to answer any questions.
Okay, so let me go first. So the rooftop, is it still currently being used for dog play yard, walking or whatever?
Dr. Thomas, can you address that? I'm not sure if he's muted.
He appears to be
Somebody-
muted.
Go ahead. Someone,
Spiro,
917,
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, it is not being used as a walking area or an area for the animals on the rooftop currently.
will it be, because as you notice, the, I guess the 3rd floor windows of the adjacent residents are open to that rooftop.
Yeah, no, all that area is scheduled to be for residential use only, not part of the commercial use. So any rooftop and any apartments above, strictly residential uses.
Okay, so looking at this from 79th Street, we see the white picket fence. That's
Yeah, that's an existing fence.
that's residential usage for the 2nd floor apartment, I presume.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I do.
Oh, I don't
Um,
see a hand.
Oh, hold on. I got to raise my hand. How do I raise my hand? I got it. Wait, okay.
Reactions.
There we go.
Yeah,
Okay. Can I talk now?
you can talk now, but I don't see you, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I have my hand raised.
Tell them who you are.
My name's Kathy Sumsky, and on Community Board 5, as you know. I just have a question. I have dogs that have gone to Dr. Thomas, and that whole stretch where you have the 2 apartment buildings on top, that's all his area as well, right?
Yeah, the building goes back roughly 100 feet.
Right. And when you have animals that have surgery, where did they go now?
Dr. Thomas, I know you were unable to speak before. It looks like you're unmuted. Are you able to talk?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Sure.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Great.
So we have a recovery area behind the treatment area with cages, and we observe them when they come up from anesthesia, and monitor them with pulse oximetry until they're up and about, and then we send them home. Were you able to hear me?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. So those 2 apartments that are above your business, they're going to be taken down, and then you're going to go all the way
No.
up.
Kathy,
There are no apartments. There are no
those don't
apartments
exist right.
existing.
I'm sorry, Kathy, those don't exist right now. Those are what would be added pursuant to the.
Oh, that would be added. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Any other
problem.
questions or comments?
Fred Haller has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm not getting it for some reason.
So
Right.
those, is there going to be additional construction that is going to abut the property on the right? Question mark?
Amanda, can you just show the elevation, and maybe Spiro, can you just talk about the setback 2 stories?
Can I just say something here? On the property to the right, meaning 7844?
Correct.
Is that what you mean?
Correct.
Well, no, the answer is no. There's a walkway in between there. It's a common drive. So no, it will not be abutting it.
Okay, it's just a little hard to tell from the picture whether it's going to be
Yeah.
right up abutting,
Yeah,
because they have windows there.
Yeah,
There's-
no, it's not abutting at all. It's not abutting. There's a gateway and a common walkway which we share for the back of the building.
I
and
see it.
It wouldn't be common at all. Yep,
Good,
you
great,
can see
thanks.
right there. Right there. Yeah, no
Got it.
problem. Yeah, there you go. On the septic. Yep, yep.
Do you have a,
That's-
could you show the roof plan of the proposed building?
It
Well,
would
let's-
show the other building in context if you showed the site plan, actually.
All right, let's see the site plan then.
There you go.
All right, so there's the alleyway between the two buildings. So at one point where the 3-story brick proposed 2-story extension rises above the roof, where is it? What is the distance between that and the window on the adjacent property, second, third floor?
It's roughly about 5 feet.
See where that red line is?
Yeah, the distance between would be roughly 5 feet.
Yeah, where is the window on the existing 3-story neighbor? Okay, so this is the proposed extension showing the location of the 2 windows. Okay, thank you.
Walter has his hand up.
Hi, guys. I'm Walter Sanchez. I'm from Maspeth. I'm the chairman of the Zoning and Land Use Committee. We had a great presentation the other day by the applicants, and we felt very good about this plan. We did have a couple of questions. I have some questions. So the intention is for these 2 apartments for staff to be living there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, we can't tell you what to do with the property if you sell it or anything like that. Do you have intentions to sell right now?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Do you have,
Yeah.
do you have permission, or do you own that other building next door? Is that your building, or do you have permission from the owner?
No,
to include them?
no, 78, no, it's not. 7844 is not my building. I only have the corner property.
And so do you have permission to include them in the zoning change?
Well, I mean, I'm going to start, Walter, by just saying that, most zonings we do have adjacent owners. And interestingly, in the New York City Charter, you don't need permission. You basically just, any property owner in the city of New York can rezone any other property, which basically means that most of these rezonings are going to include an adjacent parcel. This rezoning particularly benefits this owner because his use group on the ground floor, although a medical office, is actually, if you look at the certificate of occupancy, a use group 6 commercial use. So this basically takes that existing legal non-conforming use, makes it a conforming use, which means that to the extent that he makes any changes to the space, it becomes an easier application for him at the Department of Buildings. He doesn't have to prove the longstanding existence of that use. In addition, he's over on the residential square footage, which would mean that when he goes to the R5D, we talked about the fact that you max out for 2 for your community facility. He basically now becomes legal both in terms of the size of his building and the commercial use. So he's not a co-applicant here, but the rezoning definitely does benefit his parcel.
We would just, no, and I understand that it benefits him. It's funny that you might think it benefits him, he might not. We just feel a little bit more comfortable if you just, let him know and see if he had any objections. We just feel more comfortable. Our standing here as a community board is to really see if it's had a character, see if the neighbors are okay with it. Dr. Joseph has been a great neighbor from our understanding. We know him as well. We just feel a little bit more comfortable. He doesn't have to be a party to this thing, but just if he knows and he's aware of it. And maybe he just says, I'm aware of it or something like that. But,
So
you know, I
we're happy to
understand.
do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. The other thing is that at the meeting, you'd said, you know, one of the big concerns we have in this community is that two families are turned into three families. And you'd said you'd sign an affidavit saying that it's not going to be three families. You're not going to have 3 meters. You're not going to have 3 people living there. You're willing to do that? Is that cool?
Sure. Dr. Thomas, would you sign an affidavit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's fine. And we know you're a good neighbor and you're a good guy and you've been here for decades and that's great. Otherwise, we think it looks like a real good improvement to the property and the setback means you really care about the neighborhood, the neighbors. Great. That's
So
it.
why? That's why we're doing it. So
Great.
Okay,
Alyssa?
anything more on this subject?
Yeah, Alyssa has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm not getting them for some reason. Who is it?
It's Elisa from Ridgewood. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So thanks
For
for,
those that don't know you in the community, would you state your full name?
I'm Elisa Bonilla and I'm in Ridgewood.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So I just wondered why the setback? I mean, why not go all the way to the edge? I mean, it seems not totally out of character with the building next door. So why is there a setback? And my second question is, you said it's anticipated for staff, but is that going to become like obligatory? I mean, let's say the staff next year don't want to be there and you're just going to rent it out at market rates? Or, I mean, that seems a very vague commitment. So those are my 2 questions.
Sure. So I'll start and Dr. Thomas can supplement as necessary. So my understanding from the setback is that you can see that there's windows on the side of the property next door. The setback was an attempt to kind of be considerate of those windows. So those will be unobstructed to the extent you can see them from the street. So, you know, as opposed to going along the full floor, this would allow for light and air to come to those side windows. It's understanding that right now he'd have rights to build a mixed-use building that would go up on the entirety of that floor. I think it's just a kind of a nod to 7844 and to try to be as considerate as possible. So you can see right here, I think the picture best demonstrates the fact that they're setting back over 50 feet to try to get light and air to those windows. Yeah. So the second thing, you're right. You know, and this is just on a personal note, Dr. Thomas came to us, I think, trying to achieve this residential use for over 15 years. And so, you know, he's so in good faith. The discussion has been that there's a lot of care that's needed for some of these animals and that it's going to be useful for him to have these residential units. To the extent that they weren't used by staff, and right now the staff numbers, I think I was corrected at the land use hearing, it must be about at least 9 or 10 staff members. To the extent it wasn't used by staff, then would they be able, they would be able to be rented out. It probably is the same again as it would be if these were residential units in a mixed use building under the existing zoning. So that really doesn't change so much. But again, Dr. Thomas has been really, you know, fighting this fight for a really long time to try to get these units for staff members. So the anticipation is that that's exactly how it would be used.
Thank you.
Sure.
Patrick Trinchesi has his hand up.
Who's that?
Patrick.
Yep, I'm here. Patrick Trinchesi from Middle Village. So my question really was going back to the design of this and the electrical configuration. We kind of touched on it a little bit before. So is all the power going to be fed from the existing meter pan, or are you putting in 2 separate meters?
Spiro, do you have that information?
We haven't developed that yet. It's really up to the utility company and I guess the preference for Dr. Thomas. It'll start with a preference from Dr. Thomas, but then we'd have to get approval from the utility company to do that. So right now we're just trying to get the use and the zoning allowed, but we haven't engineered the building in terms of electrical and mechanical systems yet. It's purely designed on the architectural features.
Okay, my question for that is because the intention of the use of it would be very indicative of how that is laid out electrically. You know, if this is going to be an existing part of the business and written off as part of the business and exclusively used for the business, I would assume it would all be under 1 meter. So I just want to point that out to everybody.
Okay, anyone else?
Michael O'Kane.
Yeah, I'm Michael O'Kane. I live in Glendale. And I recall years ago, before I was even on the community board, and that's probably 20 years ago, I think Scheinfeld, the department store, wanted to buy that property and have it rezoned for 3 floors. I believe it was denied. And I'm wondering why is this any different?
I'll start. I'm unfamiliar with that application, but I will tell you that in a residential district commercial overlay, as you see on the 6 blocks surrounding this property, you're limited in commercial use to the ground floor. So there's no commercial district like a C1 or C2 overlay that would give you the opportunity to go up 3 stories with commercial. It's likely that any commercial overlay or commercial, specifically commercial rezoning that was sought at the time would seek something like a C4 or C5, which is, allows for a fully commercial building. So this block doesn't really merit that. It's an R5 block. The rezoning that's proposed going forward is R5D, so it stays in that same R5 family. But I can imagine that if somebody came in, if we came in with a C4 or a C5 district, I imagine that there'd be a lot of outcry about that. So without knowing anything else about that rezoning, that's probably what I would, conjecture.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nick Cudnero.
Who was that?
Hi, I'm Nick Cudnero from Glendale. I just want to know, have you gotten your Department of Buildings approval on this yet?
We have not, the reason being that Department of Buildings does not permit applications to be filed with prospective zoning. So if you're going for rezoning, it won't allow you to file, for example, here we're seeking an R5 with a commercial overlay. They would only review it and permits under the existing zoning. So while Spiro's done a lot of design work around this, until we get rezoned, we can't go to DOB with an actual active application.
I have another question. Are you sure the existing structure is going to be able to handle another 2 stories?
Spiro, can you weigh in on that?
We may have to introduce additional columns into the first floor and through the cellar. So, we're aware of that. We will do the proper analysis and proper structural investigations once the rezoning happens. But we'll do whatever it takes to make the building structurally stable.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Kathy Sumsky.
I had my hand up, but then I took it down. I wasn't at the land use committee meeting, so I'm not really sure what's going on here. Are those 2 stories already there, or they're not?
They're not. We actually, usually you have a low quality rendering and it's easy to see that they're not there, but
Okay.
Spiro has a really high quality rendering here, so it looks like they're already built. Those aren't built yet. Those are
Okay.
what they would look
Okay.
like. So no, Kathy, they're
Okay.
not there yet. But it is
Okay.
it's confusing. It was confusing to me.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Anyone else?
I don't see any other hands, Vinny.
Who was that?
I said I don't see any other hands.
Okay, there's nothing further. We'll turn this over to the Land Use Services Committee to report back to the board. And we'll now close that portion of the meeting of the public hearing. Thank you. You go back to the agenda on the screen. Next item of business is the public forum. Mr. Giordano.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. This is submitted by Sarah Feldman, who used to be a community board member, with regard to SWAD Sports Cafe located at 70-20 60th Lane in Ridgewood, where we have gotten complaints with regard to some activities there. And Ms. Feldman's saying that she's reporting illegal parking. Their customers are illegally parking in the crosswalks on a daily basis. And I
Hold on a
know
second, Gary,
other residents. What's the matter?
whose telephone is on or sound coming out that's taking over the screen?
Like it's Robert Thomas.
Ah,
Could you please clear it?
It's done.
Not on my screen.
Gary can start talking again and it should switch to Gary.
Okay, I'm sorry, Gary.
that's all right. So then she says that I know other residents nearby have reported the cafe to 311. This is this SWAD Sports Cafe, as well as to the local community board. And she says that she does not think that some of the license plates of the vehicles illegally parked in the crosswalks or I think even on the sidewalks are valid. Some out-of-state plates, I believe. And I think some questionable plates. And she says, I would also like to add another incident. Last week, I reported to 311 the shocking experience of seeing one of the customers with their genitalia exposed right outside the establishment. And she gives the complaint number. And she gives the complaint number with regard to that exposure and gives some of the other complaint numbers. Then she says, let me know if you need prior service requests from last year, as well as including prior emails. Then I see that Councilmember Holden now has a dedicated tow truck. Can we please use it for this situation? It would be most appreciated. The illegal parking needs to stop. It has become a nightmare. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. So, Mr. Arcuri, this is apparently a problem establishment for more reasons than just illegal parking. And we've been pretty good or better at working with the 104th Precinct and the New York State Liquor Authority of doing something about establishments selling alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption, changing their ways, and have worked with the precinct to get some numerous licenses revoked.
Well, it's a good reason to introduce yourself to the new commanding officer and ask him to take care of it, correct?
Well, we're in a bit of a state of flux, so to speak, in the 104, which I will explain later.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's the only public forum statement.
Okay,
I have my hand up.
Vinny, you have Derek Evers and Peggy O'Kane with their hands up.
I'm not seeing them, I'm sorry. So who's Peggy? Go ahead.
I've gotten complaints about that place too. It's from Laura Arcuri, who also used to be on the board. She feels that the men are threatening. When she walks by with her dog, she can't walk on the sidewalk. She spoke to some neighbors who said that they were feeling oppressed by the actions at this place too also.
Okay. Who else was there?
Derek.
Yeah, I can't speak to what they're doing at the club or anything like that, but the parking is really, really bad, like egregious. It's just kind of shocking that nothing has been done about it already, to be honest. They're parking far beyond the crosswalk, kind of into the crossing streets and stuff. So it is, the parking for sure is definitely an issue.
Okay. Any more on that?
No other hands.
Okay. So there's no other items under the public forum. We'll go to the chairperson's report. That's me, Vincent Arcuri. And I usually introduce elected officials. Gary, do we have any statement, or John, any statements from the elected officials? Gary?
Yes. Okay. So first from Councilmember Holden. Hello, neighbors, Community Board 5 members and fellow elected officials. I hope you are staying safe and healthy. And I thank you for your continued work and volunteerism. We have the following events coming up this spring. A Plant the Seeds of Kindness, Thursday, May 12th, 4 p.m. in Uncle Vito Maranzano's Glendale Playground. That's on Central Avenue at 70th Street, Thursday, May 12th. A carotid artery stroke risk screening, Wednesday, May 18th, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. by appointment only. Doesn't say where. The council member I know has moved to a location on 69th Street at Caldwell Avenue / Brown Place in Maspeth. And then an recycling e-waste event on May 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Forest Park Bandshell parking lot. A thyroid screening on June 9th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at IS 119. A water day at the park on June 18th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. in Juniper Valley Park. A movie night, there's 3 of them. One of them is on June 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Uncle Vito Maranzano's Playground. And then another movie night, June 10th, 7:30 p.m. at Juniper Valley Park. And then another movie night, June 17th, 7:30 p.m. at Reef Park in Maspeth on Fresh Pond Road at where it splits one direction, 61st Street, and it's at 59th Drive. And then concerts, June 16th, 7 p.m. a Disney sing-along, June 23rd at 7 p.m. Strawberry Fields. July 7th, 7 p.m. an 80s tribute, and July 14th, 7 p.m. Satisfaction. I would imagine that's a Rolling Stones thing. As the weather gets warmer, we are working with city agencies to address potential noise, transportation, crime, and other quality of life issues. Thank you for your public service as community board members. Please reach out to my office for assistance anytime. And that's from Councilman Robert F. Holden. Then we have a statement. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. Then we have a statement from Senator Adable's office, prepared by John D'Angelo, the office manager. Senator Adabo sends his regards to everyone at Community Board 5. Legislation. The senator co-sponsored a bill, S-3483, to prevent seniors from losing eligibility for prescription drug benefits. Senior citizens who receive small increases in pension or Social Security benefits would be protected from losing their eligibility for New York's elderly pharmaceutical insurance coverage, EPIC program. Having passed the Senate, this bill is now under consideration by the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. The senator introduced legislation S 3459 mandating life imprisonment without parole when the victim is a police officer. This legislation seeks to close the loophole that allows parole for the murderers of police officers by requiring that mandatory life sentences without parole be imposed for these circumstances without exception. The senator co-sponsored a bill S 6828A to help speed state unemployment benefit determinations. This bill will require the State Department of Labor to notify applicants within 30 days of whether their initial claims for joblessness benefits have been accepted or denied. Now that the bill has passed the Senate, it is under review by the Assembly Committee on Labor. And as far as upcoming events goes, paper shredding and donation event at Atlas Park, Saturday, May 21st, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Located at the Forever 21 parking lot inside the shops at Atlas Park. Visitors are requested to enter the mall at the 82nd Street entrance, limit of 5 boxes or bags per person. The Salvation Army will be accepting clothing, footwear, and personal hygiene donations. Used eyeglasses and American flag donations will also be accepted. Then a Veterans Information Fair at Atlas Park on Saturday, May 21st. Well, the same date as the paper shredding. From 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., groups that will provide information on how they can help veterans include Operation Warrior Shield, Southampton Animal Shelter Foundation, the David Lynch Foundation, New York City Department of Veterans Services, Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 22, the New York Police Department, and Grunt Style. And then an e-waste recycling event on Saturday, May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Forest Park Bandshell, co-sponsored by Assemblywoman Raj Kumar and Councilman Holden. You can call our office at 718-497-1630 for a list of acceptable and non-acceptable items for e-waste recycling. The senator wanted to say he had a great time meeting constituents at his mobile office hours at the Middle Village Library on April 28th. And that was submitted by John D'Angelo, the office manager for State Senator Adabo.
Okay.
Then excuse me?
No, go ahead.
All right. Statement from the office of Assemblyman Andrew Hevesy. Assemblyman Hevesy has been up in Albany working to pass some final bills before the end of this legislative session. Yesterday, his bill A9080 passed the Assembly unanimously with 146 yes votes and 0 no votes. This bill will create a statewide study to record the number of children in the foster care system who have developmental disabilities, which will dictate further state policy to ensure it adequately accounts for and makes services available for these children. Locally, we conducted a very successful rain barrel distribution this weekend with Senator Adabo's office, where 50 households were able to secure barrels to store water and maintain their gardens. We thank the Department of Environmental Protection for their partnership, as well as Dory Opitz Figliola for helping organize the event. Also locally, the Assemblyman is continuing his Parks Cleanup Series and will soon be announcing an effort in Maspeth, which we will be keeping the board updated on. Students have been collecting volunteer service hours and remain eligible to do so. If anyone is interested, they can contact our office. If anyone has any constituent-related concern or legislative request, we encourage you to reach out to us at 718-263-5595 or by emailing hevesya@assemblyman.org. nyassembly.gov. Thanks and stay safe and well. And that's from Kevin G. Wisniewski, Senior Advisor for New York State Assemblyman Andrew Hevesy. All right, bear with me.
Take your time. I just dropped all my papers, so.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Arcuri and board members, we have some very long, John, maybe you can clarify this for me. Assemblywoman Raj Kumar sent two different statements.
No, she actually sent just one. The first time she sent something, the staff member sent the wrong one. So I believe there's a reference to the incident on Fresh Pond Road. That was not the intended statement that was being sent. I wrote over on the bottom of the proper one.
Oh, so, okay. So the one, okay. All right.
Sort that out tomorrow.
We shall see. Yes, sir.
You have one more?
And this is from the office of, well, I do have a statement to read then.
All
From the office of Assemblywoman Raj Kumar. Dear Community Board 5, thank you so much for your tireless work for our community. I wish I didn't get tired then. We are all aware of the shooting that took place on Monday near Fresh Pond Road and Palmetto Street in Ridgewood, with 2 women shot, 1 fatally. This shooting is part of a disturbing trend of rising gun violence and overall crime in New York City. As your Assemblywoman, it is my #1 job to make sure our streets are safe for our children, our families, and all New Yorkers. That is why I fought for changes to the bail law this session. I fought for common sense changes to keep repeat offenders and clearly dangerous criminals off the streets. I was successful in helping to secure some of these changes, and I am continuing to work with the police and mayor to bring crime down. My office has continued its nonstop work in the district. Just this Monday, I was happy to host free mammogram screenings at my office in partnership with Mount Sinai Health. These screenings are vital to protect women from breast cancer and can save lives. Mark your calendars for our annual e-waste recycling event that I am hosting in Forest Park on Sunday, May 22nd, together with Senator Joe Adabo and Council Member Bob Holden. Glendale Civilian Observation Patrol is always so helpful at our events, and I thank them for their wonderful work. Last month, I was successful in helping to elevate the State Division of Veterans Affairs to a full cabinet level department. This is a major victory that will help veterans by creating a one-stop shop where they can receive benefits and services. For the past few months, I fought tirelessly to ensure that funding will flow to our district. I am happy to report that I was successful in securing funding for the Glendale Civilian Observation Patrol, which is, I think, 104 COP now, as well as for our veterans, seniors, and youth. I am passionate about ensuring quality of life in our community. I attend regular meetings on the Cooper Avenue shelter to monitor the shelter's operations and ensure public safety in our neighborhood. It is a pleasure to work with the Liberty Park Homeowners Association and the Ridgewood Property Owners Association as well. Queens has a thriving Nepali American community, including in Ridgewood. This month, I have created the first ever Nepal Day in the state of New York to take place May 28th, Nepal's Republic Day. I'm also proclaiming May 29th as the first ever Mount Everest Day in the state of New York, in honor of Nepal's Sherpa community of elite mountaineers that regularly climb Mount Everest. Congratulations to Ridgewood's Nepali community on all their achievements and contributions to New York. I am very proud of the robust internship program at my office, in which local students learn about government and build future leadership skills. If you know any young people that would like to join our office this summer, please send them to me. It would be a joy to have them. With Memorial Day approaching at the end of the month, let us pause to honor those who made the greatest sacrifice of all for our country. We owe these heroes a debt that can never be repaid. Very truly yours, Jennifer Rajkumar, Assemblywoman, District 38. And that are the statements, or those are rather, the statements from our elected officials.
Do we have anything from the borough president's office?
Well, the borough president's rep is here, Mr. Arcuri.
Do you have anything to say?
Yes, hi. So as you
Introduce
all,
yourself again, please.
oh, hi everyone. My name is Catherine Zapata. I'm the Transportation and Parks Policy Advisor to the Queensborough President. As you all know, the MTA rolled out a Queens bus redesign plan. I believe the workshop for Community Board 5 was last week. Our office is taking suggestions and feedback in regards to the lines that are respective to your district. I'll put my office number and my email. Please feel free to call me or suggest any additional items in regards to the lines. And I'm more than happy to speak and brief them to the Queensborough President. We'll be providing the MTA a robust list of lines that we want to be altered for the final draft. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the 104? Nothing from the 104?
I believe Gary stepped away. There he is. You're muted, Gary. There you go.
I have not received a statement from the 104th. They've had their hands full with 2 shooting incidents over the past week. And, but I do have some information that I'll get to, if you want me to talk about it now or during my report.
Just do it in your report.
Okay.
All right. John, why you want to call the roll?
Okay, or do you want me just to ask folks to identify that I haven't been able to identify?
Let's do it that way.
Okay, Maria De La Cruz, if you are here, please unmute and say hello. Nope. Gary,
Hold on.
Yep.
So Tony Benanti is here?
Yes. Everybody's here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dela Cruz, anybody else?
Yeah, Steve Fiedler. There is a person that's on with a phone number 1-917-951-3256. I don't know who that is. Can you identify yourself? And Gary, I did send Steve both through text and another email the link, so I tried.
Yeah, he was running back from or driving back from the post office, where he works. So he was running late.
Okay, he might come in. Again, can the phone number that we see identify themselves, unmute themselves? They might be using it as a audio. I don't know. Does anybody recognize 917-951-3256?
Let's cut it off. And is Cecilia Guerra on with us?
John, can you repeat that number again, please?
917-951-3256.
All right, let's cut it off.
That's Eileen Maloney.
Okay, so that's Eileen. I can wed that with her video and make it audio in a second. Cecilia Guerra is another one. And then other than that, we have 2 people that reported to us prior to the meeting that they would not be able to join us. Those are the only other 2 people that aren't on the call. Katarzyna Sita and Michaeline von Drathen.
They're not here.
They are not here.
How
And
about
they told us they would not be here.
how about Porcelli?
Yes, he came in a little while ago.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have any wine, beer, liquor license, John?
Yes, I do. I sent that out yesterday. Folks, if you have any comments, send it into the office. 2 new liquor licenses, GBT New York Corp., doing business as Clandestino at 7417 Metropolitan Avenue in Middle Village, New York. Sweetat Eti and Ruhul Khan LLC, doing business as Spice Kitchen on 7104 Grand Avenue in Maspeth. We have 5 liquor license renewals. California Pizza Kitchen, Inc. at 8000 Cooper Avenue, Glendale, New York. Nostro Joe's, Inc., doing business as Joe's Restaurant at 6611 Forest Avenue, Ridgewood. 4 Caminos Mexican Restaurant Corp., 6722 Fresh Pond Road, Ridgewood, New York. Cozy Corner Corp., doing business as Cozy Corner, 6001 70th Ave, Ridgewood. Night Restaurants LLC, doing business as Cream Ridgewood, 59-09 71st Ave in Ridgewood. No new wine, beer, and cider license were reported. We have 1 renewal for wine, beer, and cider. Sail Fresh, Inc., doing business as Antica Trattoria at 6810 Fresh Pond Road in Ridgewood. 1 temporary retail permit application from an existing liquor, wine, beer, and cider, and that is Fontana Pizzeria, Inc. at 6526 Metropolitan Ave in Middle Village. And 1 alteration, Taj Village, Inc., doing business as 1042 Lounge, is going to be expanding into 7932 Metropolitan Avenue in Middle Village. They are already present in 79-28. So they're taking over the setback unit next to them and expanding into that.
Okay,
Vinny, Paul has his hand up.
yes. Maybe you
Gotta
just,
unmute Paul.
hello, Paul?
You're still muted, Paul.
How's that?
There you go.
All good.
Before Catherine Zapata from the Queensborough President's Office said she wanted info on our bus route changes that we might have, but she didn't give us her phone number. I'd like
Yes,
to
she
have
did.
that.
It's in the chat.
All right,
I put it in the chat. Yeah, my email and phone number.
All right, thank you.
Vinny Ed Latau has his hand up.
wait,
uh,
we're
it's-
losing track here. Let's slow down. We were still on beer, wine, and liquor licenses. Any more on beer, wine, and liquor licenses?
Yes, I sent Gary and John, it's Eddie Latau from Ridgewood, and Abby's bar that was closed, the new bar went in. It may be called Seneca Bar on Seneca Avenue between Gates and Palmetto Street. I'm hoping Gary and John got the photo I took of it with the bar being open. The one we had a couple of different bars over there. I think it was one Blue Triangle and Abby's where there was a lot of issues and problems, but the Seneca Bar is now open over there in that location.
I'll leave that to Gary to answer, but I do know that that was announced at a prior meeting that they were applying. Gary, do you want to talk about your conversations with them and the stipulations?
Well, as we often do, Mr. Arcuri and I had them enter into a stipulation agreement. And please let us know if there are any problems at this location, because from my point of view, and I can't answer for Mr. Arcuri, if this place is a problem, we intend to get them shut down, like we worked with the precinct to get the other 2 shut down. And then that will be it for this landlord as far as having any bar in there ever again. So this is their third strike. They have 2 strikes on them.
Yes,
Let
so,
us know if there are any problems.
because I live, basically just 2 blocks away, so I periodically could just check to see if I notice anything going on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have minutes, board members. Read them, motion to accept the minutes as written. Anyone?
I move that we accept them.
I'll
Peggy
second.
O'Kane.
I second it.
Who's that?
Bob Semelli.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Any against?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you. I have nothing more. Do you have anything? Anyone have anything for the chair? If not, we'll go to the district manager's report, Mr. Giordano.
Yeah, first, we usually, Mr. Arcuri and I usually try to get a group of people or board members to march with us in the Memorial Day parades. We have
On
had,
Myrtle Avenue.
yeah, on Myrtle Avenue. I believe we're starting on Myrtle this year from Cypress and going to, at Cypress and Myrtle, Ridgewood Remembrance Triangle, and walking to the Glendale Memorial Triangle on Myrtle at Cooper. So please let me know if you want to march with us at 11 o'clock on Memorial Day. We usually, I don't know that we've missed a Memorial Day parade in Ridgewood, Glendale, because we'll get more people walking with us. In the 32 years I've been the district manager, maybe once when I busted up my knee. As far as Maspeth goes, to my knowledge, and I haven't seen anything, I don't know if John has, but to my knowledge, the Maspeth Memorial Day Parade will be on Sunday, the day before Memorial Day. And I believe usually starting at noon on Grand Avenue at Garlinger Triangle.
Gary, this is Mariana Zero.
Hi,
This year
Mariana.
we're starting on 69th Street because of the construction over there on.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So it'll be 69th Street that we're starting. We are going to the different memorials prior to that, as far as United Veterans is going to the Vietnam Memorial and, going there. But the parade itself is starting at 69th Street.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and in recent years, we haven't had many volunteers to march with us in Maspeth, but I'm ready, willing, and reasonably able to do both of them. So please let me know, send us an email to QN05 if you're willing to go with us. Memorial Day is very important to me. And for me, it's basically a set aside to attend the parades. But of course, I'm the district manager and I feel I have a responsibility. And this is to honor those who gave their lives in service to this country.
This year, the United Veterans in Maspeth, our theme is the Gold Star families,
Okay,
and we have a few in the area.
thank you. Yeah, Mariana, thank you for all the wonderful work you've done for the veterans for so many years.
Kathy Sumsky has her hand up.
Yeah, let me unmute. I just wanted to know if Middle Village was having a Memorial Day parade at Metro. No?
The Queens County Memorial Day Parade, have not heard about that at all.
No, the Memorial Day parade.
Yeah.
Oh,
Queens
you go
County.
to Queens County?
But that's in Forest Hills, is it not, Vinny?
Yeah, but we used to go Well, the last few years, we started at Metro. Too. Anyway, no sound of it at all.
But Kathy, historically, the two parades have been Ridgewood Glendale, or Glendale Ridgewood, depending upon what direction one is going, on Myrtle Avenue on Memorial Day, and in Maspeth on Grand Avenue. And they'll go further than Grand Avenue on the Sunday before Memorial Day. There has not, to my knowledge, been a Memorial Day parade in Middle Village on Metropolitan Avenue. There has been a Veterans Day parade, which is
That's probably
very lovely on Metropolitan Avenue. But I think that the Maspeth Middle Village, it would dilute the Maspeth parade if there was a Middle Village parade.
right.
Okay.
We have
Can't
a
dilute the master parade.
We have a Forest Hills parade that steps off at noon on that Sunday. I think, Marianne, if I'm not mistaken, I think Maspeth is at 1, isn't it?
Is at 1, but
Yeah.
you have to come a little earlier.
I'm a little early, but Forest Hills starts at noon along Metropolitan Avenue.
Okay. Mr. Arcuri,
Yes.
considering that there have been 2 shootings in the past week in the Community Board 5 area, the 104th precinct, I'd like to call attention to that. And there was one shooting at, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fresh Pond Road closer to Gates Avenue.
No, just 2 houses or 2 apartment buildings over from Palmetto.
Okay. So right near where you are.
Yep.
And this was a situation where the boyfriend of a woman came up to the 3rd floor and, started in with his girlfriend. And then a woman from the 2nd floor came up to kind of defend the woman on the 3rd floor. And this man shot both of them and killed the girlfriend on the 3rd floor. And the person who lived on the 2nd floor is in critical condition. Last I'm told, critical but stable condition in the hospital. And then today there was a shooting, I think approximately 1:40 p.m. Right by the Maspeth High School, to my knowledge, involving, or a 17-year-old student was shot. 2 people have been brought in for questioning, and I'm told that the Maspeth High School has been more of a problem than I realized for at least since the beginning of this school year. And apparently, I choose my words carefully, there's a gang problem there, and police are there most days at dismissal. And I'm told there are rival groups there. So certainly a problem. I'm informed by Lieutenant Helmer, who's a special operations lieutenant, that there have been 3 shootings in the past 28 days in the 104th precinct. 2 of them I talked to you about. Deputy Inspector Hall has moved on to the 109th precinct, which I'm pretty sure is Flushing. He was the commanding officer here. And Captain Chu, who is the executive officer of the precinct, is now the commanding officer. And Inspector Mastronardi is here providing oversight, and Inspector Mastronardi was, did a very good job, in my opinion, in this precinct a few years ago. I'm told that and I forgot this, that the commanding officer position is an open process where resumes are submitted. So much less a paramilitary situation than it has been in the past. We just haven't experienced this yet. And it'll be reviewed by the hierarchy at One Police Plaza. And those qualifying will be interviewed by community members. I'm not sure who will be chosen to do that. And the process will take 3 or 4 weeks. I'm also informed that a lot of the criminal activity in the precinct has been on the midnight to 8 a.m. shift, where they have more officers assigned than usual. But I think it's important to point out, we read so much criminal activity in the newspapers. I get the daily news every day, and too often throughout the city of New York, they are carrying criminal activity in the beginning pages of the paper, which I don't really appreciate, because to find any other news, you usually have to go pretty deep into the paper, depending upon what day it is. But just to point out, and I was speaking to Mary Ann Latanzio about this, who's the chairperson of the Public Safety Committee of the Community Board, that crime still, and I'm looking at year to date for 2022, and how it compares to going back to the height of crime in New York City, which is approximately 29 years ago. And felony crime is still down in this precinct by 80.59% from what it was 29 years ago, but only down like 6.5% from what it was 12 years ago. Down 1% from what it was 2 years ago. But I remember when crime was a real problem in 89, 90, when I started here as district manager. And I'll just give you some examples. In 1990, I think 1993 is, well, it's better, it's worse for some instances, but with some crimes, but not others. Okay, so 1990, the end of the Koch administration, and that's when crack hit New York City, if I remember correctly. There were 11 murders in this precinct. There were 19 murders in this precinct in 1993. That's the crime that went up the most between 90 and 93. Compare that to, thank the good Lord, 2 murders in 2021. But, we already have 1 this year. Rape has kind of been about the same. There were 21 rapes in 1990, 19 rapes in 2021. And when I question the police, they usually tell me that the rape is a horrible crime, but that the rapist is usually known to the victim. But another, for instance, 1,307 robberies in 1990, 142, or 89% less in 2021. Year to date, though, robbery is a problem. It's gone from 37 robberies to 54. And since this isn't a high crime precinct, that's a 46% jump. Felony assault has kind of stayed pretty consistent There were 279 felony assaults in 1990 and 259 in 2021. But burglary is an enormous difference. In 1990, 2,562 burglaries. In 2021, 245. So, that a 90% difference. Grand larceny, it's been down, but not as much as the other crimes. There were 884 in 1990 and 592 in 2021. But auto theft, which has been up a lot. I mean, there's 13 auto thefts in the past, in the week that was May 2nd through the 8th in this precinct. But in 1990, we had an astounding 4,443 auto thefts in the 104th precinct. And in 2021, 214, which is 95% less than it was in 1990. So I realize the crime is up here and citywide by too much, but I just wanted to kind of put it in some perspective of what it's been historically since they started CompStat. The week to date for that May 2nd through May 8th, there were 25 felonies, and all of the stats that I told you about are felonies. There are 25 felonies that week or last week. For 2021, there are 35 this year. So although this is not a high crime precinct, thank God, that is up 40%. And for the month, crime is up, or felony crime is up from 90 to 119, or 32% increase. Year to date, it's up 24%. The felonies in this precinct. And a lot of that is robbery being up 20 crimes and grand larceny auto being up 31 crimes. So just to put it in perspective, that I can certainly remember when I was calling the precincts, special operations sergeants and lieutenants a lot back in the late 80s and the early 90s, and I haven't had to do that anywhere near with the frequency that was the case back then. Now, there's a lot of shootings in New York City, right? And I am certainly a gun disliker, no doubt about that, especially in such a crowded city. I don't want to see shootouts on the city streets. As far as shooting incidents go, okay, year to date in the 104, that doesn't count this week where there were these shootings, but shooting incidents year to date were 2 in this precinct and 0 for the first 4+ months last year. So something's going on where we already have, where we have 3 shooting incidents this week. And I think that that's a combination of just frustration of people and more anger. And I think, a lot of it is due to the COVID lockdown, and which I think kind of needed to be done in a lot of ways. I mean, we're not China with a lockdown, but with the COVID lockdown. And I think that bail reform has been a big problem. And not only a big problem in specific criminal instances, where you hear more about people who are being let out of jail again, for some quite serious crimes. I think it's an example of how the legislature went from locking up this young man, for a backpack for over a year because he couldn't make bail. Now that's pretty sick. And I think, my own opinion is what we did, we locked up a lot of people years ago that needed to be locked up. We also locked up a lot of people almost to make quotas as a city that should not have been incarcerated in those type of jails. And what we don't do, in my opinion, in this city and in this country, is we don't do anything about reforming people. They go into jail and they usually will get out worse than they went in, with no prospects whatsoever. No education, nothing happens to benefit them when they're in there, and therefore they too often will come out and be more of a danger to society than when they went in, because they're being tutored by gang people and real hardened criminals too often. But I think what the bail reform did was, yes, there needed to be reforms, in my opinion. You don't lock up somebody as an example, and I think that's what propelled this bail reform. You don't lock somebody up for a crime like a backpack, can't make bail, lock them up for an extended period of time, but then you also don't go totally the other way, basically, and keep people, or let people back on the street who are dangerous criminals. And I think that's what's gone on. And I also think that bail reform sent a signal to the criminal element that they're not going to lock you up. So I wanted to address the issue as I know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. G.
Vinny Dimitro has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Hi, Vinny. I just want to circle back to the incident that happened today in Maspeth and the Maspeth High School discussion that you raised, the point of violence and so forth. I would like for the youth and education committees to meet to discuss this situation at Maspeth High School, not the shooting itself, but the situations that are taking place, or you're assuming or alleging that they've taken place. And we'd like to get the right people in the room to talk about it, to understand what's going on and how that could be transpiring, a year after the leadership changes. So I think it's worth the conversation in the committee meeting, and I would like for you to set that up when it's possible.
If not, you take the lead.
Who's the chair of the Education Youth Committee?
Crowley? No?
Yeah, Kathy Massey is
I'm
the
the chair of the
chairperson of education with
Yes.
Eileen Maloney.
And Patty Crowley.
I'm the youth. Yes.
Chairs a youth committee, and we can have a meeting. I think what we'll have to do is, since the high school doesn't fall under Madeline Chan's jurisdiction, we'll have to talk to the superintendent of high schools and call for a meeting with him. And
I
hope
would
that
agree
he-
with you.
And hope that he's as cooperative as Ms. Chan has been with us.
All right, why don't you guys get together and make it happen?
Okay.
Thank
Kathy,
you.
I would also see if someone from the school would be willing to sit in on this meeting too, because they could speak firsthand to what's going on.
Well, they may not be permitted. That's why what Kathy suggested is the way to go.
Demetra,
Okay.
I'm sure they're not going to be able to, and Vinny's right, speak, but I think if we invite the high school superintendent in and have a meeting, we'll get the ball rolling. And see, there obviously is a problem there. There has been for a while now. But to give you an update on what happened, Gary, today, they have arrested the 2 kids who had the gun and they're in custody already. And with the other shooting in Ridgewood, the perpetrator killed himself yesterday. So committed suicide.
Saved us a lot of money.
Kathy, just to go back on the security issue,
Mhm.
yesterday's CEC meeting when the chancellor had a town hall with CEC 24, and I attended that. Mark Rapison, who is the person in charge of all of our schools in terms of security, is has very open door policy, and I would imagine that if we asked him to attend to talk about security issues about this school, that he would attend or send someone from his office. And Madeline Chen can help us arrange that meeting for him to come as well. I think it'd be good for him to come because he could speak to it and we could speak to him firsthand about the security issues we have that are taking place.
Right, and I think that what we really need to do is not only address Maspeth High School, but all
of
the
them.
high schools. in our
Absolutely, yes,
All right.
All the
absolutely.
high schools in our district.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
starting to get into committee work. So let's,
Okay, thank
guys
you.
get together, please.
Okay, we will set that up.
Thank you. There's nothing else on Mr. Giordano's report. We'll go to committee reports. And zoning and land use, Walter,
Hi, everybody. Yeah, we heard
hope we're
from,
not disturbing you in bed.
we heard from the applicant at 7844 and 7846 Metropolitan Avenue. And you heard the hearing tonight. We're going to be discussing at the Land Use Committee at our next meeting and make a recommendation to you. I urge you all to look at a number of things at the Land Use Committee and the Community Board.
You faded
Walter,
away.
you're
Sorry,
muted.
I faded away. I saw. I urge you to look at things that we're supposed to look at, and as opposed to looking at structural things and and things like that on how it's constructed, we really have to spend our time looking at what the neighbors think, the effect on our neighborhood, the effect on the character, the height of the building. We typically look at parking. We talk to neighbors, because the worst thing we could do is say, you know what, looks like a good plan. Structurally, it's good and all this kind of stuff. And a neighbor doesn't know about it. So that's why I urge them to speak to their next door neighbor and at least get them to sign something saying that they know about it. We thought he might have known own that building next store, because typically when you do a zoning change that includes a couple of buildings, they've got to know about it. He might think it might be good for the other owner, but the other owner may have different ideas. So it's that's what we look at. We look at the height, how it affects the windows, and quite honestly, looking at how they built it with the setback. He was trying to leave open air because he's a really good neighbor from what we see, and we've known him for about 20 years. We don't know him personally, but we see how he's been. Never gotten a complaint, and they take care of their animals. And wanting the staff to live upstairs, you're right with your comment. We can't force him to do it. He said that's what he wants to do. If he sells the practice, they could rent it to anybody. And even if he doesn't, he could change his mind. So with that in mind, for us to say no because we're not sure who's going to live upstairs, not really the right thing. But we have to look at character. Parking, there are no parking requirements. And the two apartments are going to take up probably 2 more parking spots on the street, which is, important to us. So, but we'll report to you at the next meeting. And I urge all of you, go and take a look at the place. Take a look. He runs a clean operation, and we're pretty satisfied. But we'll talk about it at the next committee meeting, and we'll bring it to you for a recommendation to the Board of Standards and Appeals. But they look at this property very early. They have to go through them before they really get to us. Those are the things that we do. The other item that I want to talk to you about is Ridgewood, and Ridgewood was landmarked years ago, decades ago. So there are certain blocks in Ridgewood where the stairs have to be the same. When they have a landmark designation, the windows have to be the same. They have to go through certain procedures to do things. And what Landmarks has been doing for the last couple of years is sending the owners to us for our, opinion on whether they could do this to their steps or do that to their steps, and it's a little bit off. And we've decided as a committee not to really comment on that because they've got to do their job. Landmarks can't just throw it to us and say, hey, community board, if you think it's okay that they have brick stairs instead of the brownstone, it's okay with us. We're not going to fall into that trap. One, because we'll probably get, one customer a month coming to us and pleading their case. And we really don't want to get into that. And we've made it clear to them, and our committee is clear to you that they should just follow procedures. Many times somebody comes and says, I didn't know it was landmarked. The contractor came and did the stoop and did it the wrong way. Can we keep it? And we're like, well, it's not up to us. Honestly, we would say no, but we don't want to hear the owners of the buildings, and their stories and things like that. So I want to let you know that that's what's happening. We've got another request. Landmarks through to us, and Gary, rightfully so, sent it back to them and said, we have no opinion on this. So we don't want to open the door for that. And that's it for my report. You're going to have a couple of things that are going to come to you next month that are going to come to us and come to you. So I'm not going to take up any more time this meeting.
Okay. Anything more on zoning? If not, next committee is transportation. Is that Toby?
Good evening. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties in the board office, we were unable to convene this month. But I do want to flag that on May 17th at 7:30, we're going to have a meeting with 2 traffic safety presentations from the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Mr. Arcuri,
Yes.
a very important matter. So I sent something out to all the transportation committee members, or John did, asking if they're available for a meeting with New York City DOT, Division of Bridges, regarding the Grant Street Bridge for Monday. John, correct me if I'm wrong. Monday, May the 23rd. And hopefully Board 1 Brooklyn will be able to do it this time. So I need you to respond, please. Those who are members of the Transportation Committee, I need you to respond so that DOT Bridges knows whether they can go ahead or not. And we've only gotten 3 responses from committee members as to whether that's an okay date for you at 6 p.m. remotely on the 23rd of May. And this is a very, very important bridge project connecting us and Williamsburg, and it's only a $200 million project potentially. So please answer yes or no as to whether or not you can come on the 23rd.
Thank you. Okay, nothing more on transportation. Any other committees I failed to recognize? Kathy, you were talking.
Yes, I don't have a report because we didn't have a meeting this month, but I just want to make the board aware that,
What committee?
I'm sorry,
What committee?
it's education.
Okay, but other people didn't know that. That's all.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I thought we spoke about that already. So I just want people to be aware that Madeline Chan, the superintendent, who we have a very good relationship with, could possibly not be our superintendent. So I don't know what input we could have. On a personal note, I'm going to send a personal letter supporting her. She's been very good to the community board, very cooperative, and I think she's been a great superintendent. That's just my opinion. And
Thank you. Any other committees?
Vinny, I just want to piggyback off what Kathy said, having known her for more than 10 years. And is there an objection to having the community board, either from the board office itself, from Gary, or from the committee, send a letter as a city agency reflecting on the compliment that we could pay for our community superintendent, who has been really on the ball
Well,
and very,
Demetro,
very
Gary
supportive.
and I spoke about this today. You know,
Yeah.
given that we don't think we can do it as a city agency. B, we didn't have a meeting so that we could take a vote to do it as suggested as a committee. So that's why I brought it up. I think time is of the essence right now, and the
Okay.
more people that speak in favor of it would be
But are
helpful.
we commenting on rumor, innuendo?
No, it's
or
not. It's public
notice?
knowledge.
What is where is it
I mean,
published?
if you read any newspaper, you will see that the new chancellor is making changes all across the city. We don't know specifically what they are. Demetro, can you follow up on that so Vinny understands?
Yeah, Vinny,
Oh,
it's a
I
matter of,
understand, but there's nothing there saying that he proposes to replace her as the superintendent. So how
He is-
could
There's
you
nothing
ask him?
specific yet.
No,
It
Vinny,
will
it's-
be
it's-
too late if we wait for that.
yeah, Vinny, it's more it's more about him implementing changes as he sees fit, which could happen tomorrow, next week, 2 weeks from tomorrow. There's no set kind of thing that says when it can happen. The fact that he is doing this citywide leaves it open to say changes could take place, and it would be completely disruptive to our school district if that were to happen. And that's the thing we're looking to prevent.
Could take place, but you can't address it saying, we don't want you to do this.
No. The letter is the letter of support to reflect on her as community superintendent and the job that she's done for the community. That's what we're going to speak about.
Committee gives something for Gary because he is the district manager. And if he wants to comment, one of the people that served the district, he could do that. So sit with him and discuss what you want to do. Fred Haller.
Good and welfare when you get there.
I didn't know we had a committee, good and welfare, but
You do old business, you do old
that's
business,
old
you do,
business,
you do old business, you do new business, and then you do good and welfare. I'm ready for when you are.
okay. Any other committees that I failed to recognize? If not, Mr. Giordano, it is time for nominations.
Yes. So these are for nominations for executive committee members. And this is for chairperson, first vice chairperson, second vice chair, treasurer, secretary, and 4 member at-large positions. So currently, the chairperson of Community Board 5 is Vincent Arcuri. We have our normal way of proceeding is we have nominations in May, and then there's additional nominations in June, just in case, somebody wasn't nominated this time, that somebody wants to nominate in June, and then the election takes place in June. I expect that the June meeting will be in person finally at Christ the King High School. The moratorium on the open meetings law ends on June the 8th, the date of our board meeting. But I have to tell you, the numbers for the contamination from this variant, the people getting sick, are up. Fortunately, the sickness is not as severe. The hospitalizations are not as high, although the infection rate is quite high. It's 6%, 7%. And the death rate is not nearly what it was during a lot of the COVID problem. So that said, and our next meeting is expected to be live on Wednesday, June the 8th at Christ the King High School at 7:30 p.m. So Vincent Arcuri is the current chairperson of Community Board 5. Are there any nominations for the position of chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Vinnie Curry.
Okay. And it doesn't need a second, am I correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Right. Mr. Arcuri, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay. For first vice chair,
No. Keep going.
oh, I'm
Any
sorry,
other
any other
nominations?
nominations for chairperson? Sorry about that. So there'll be no
Still
other
open.
nominations for chairperson, excuse me?
It's still open till next month. That,
Yeah,
leave it
exactly.
at that.
Okay. And then the current first vice chairperson is Walter Sanchez. Are there any nominations for first vice chair?
I nominate Walter Sanchez.
Is that Dimitro?
Yes, it is, Gary, sorry.
That's all right. I seen you pop up on the screen, at least your name anyway, not all of you. Okay.
Does he accept?
Walter, do you accept?
Yes, I accept.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the position of first vice chair? Okay. So Peggy, why don't you do this part? Do you have to move that the nominations be closed?
No,
no.
because we still have them next month.
Okay.
Just keep
So
going.
in other words, I meant closed for tonight.
No.
Right.
Okay. All right.
This is preliminary, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, so second vice chair. The current second vice chair is Dimitro Fedkowski.
I nominate Dimitro.
Dimitro.
Wait. Raise your hand and get recognized. You can't all scream at once.
I have Margaret O'Kane nominated Dimitro Fedkowski. Dimitro, do you accept?
I do accept, thank you. I do accept.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for second vice chair? Going once, going twice? Okay, thank you. All right, treasurer, the current treasurer is Kathy Massey. Are there any nominations for treasurer?
I'll nominate Kathy Massey, for treasurer.
Okay. Kathy, do you accept?
Accept.
Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Okay. Going once, going twice. All right. Secretary. The current secretary is Margaret, who we all know as Peggy O'Kane. Are there any nominations for secretary?
I
Nominate
nominate Peggy
Peggy.
O'Kane.
Come on.
That was Mary Ann Latanzia, right?
Yes.
Okay. Peggy,
I
do you
accept.
accept?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of secretary? Going once, going twice? Okay. All right, so member at large position. The current members at large are Fred Haller from Glendale, Ted Renz from Middle Village, Paul Kersner from Ridgewood, and there is a vacant position because Edgar Mantell did not reapply as a member of Board 5. So are there any nominations for members at large?
Vinny, I have my hand up.
Okay.
I nominate Fred Haller for member at large.
Mr. Howler, do you accept?
Yes, thank you.
Other nominations?
I nominate Paul Kersner, Peggy O'Kane.
Okay. Paul, do you accept? Paul, do you accept? Maybe he stepped away, Peg.
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted. Okay.
He's talking.
Okay, how's that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. I will accept.
Okay.
Thank-
I'd like to nominate Walter Clayton.
Who's that? Walter Sanchez?
It is.
Okay. Walter, do you accept?
I accept. Thank you, Walter.
Okay, Edward Leteau,
Walter Sanchez beat me to it. I was gonna
okay,
nominate Walter
too
Clayton.
late.
Too
That's
late.
too late, thank you.
Mhm.
Peggy, your hand is still up. You want to do another
No, sorry.
nomination?
No, sorry.
Okay. We only have three. Any others?
So you got four.
Hands up.
We
You
have
got
4 positions.
You got four.
Okay.
Where?
Kathy Massey still has her hand up.
Okay,
I'd like to nominate Marianne Latanzio.
Mary Ann.
Do you accept?
I
Yeah.
accept.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for positions of members at large? Any other nominations? Going once, going twice? Okay, so there'll be nominations available again at the June 8th meeting of the board. Thank
Gary,
you.
I have one question, Gary. Have we covered with all of the positions that you have received nominees for tonight? Have we covered every community so that there is no community that it doesn't have representation?
All right, good question. So Mr. Arcuri is from Glendale. He was nominated. Walter Sanchez is from Maspeth. That's 2 communities. Dimitro Fikowski is Middle Village. That's 3 communities.
Mhm.
Peggy O'Kane for secretary is Ridgewood, so that's all 4 communities.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Thank you.
Fred Heller has his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Fred
Hold
Heller
on.
has his.
Was Ted Renz nominated for at-large?
No.
He
I
was
would.
not.
I would nominate Ted.
Mr. Arcuri, do you want to reopen this?
Go ahead. I mean, no one's paying attention anyway, so.
Oh, they're paying attention, just not good enough, maybe.
I don't think it was officially closed.
All right, but again, Fred, not for nothing. You know, your hand gets raised, you get recognized. So what do you want to say, Fred?
I would nominate Ted Renz for a member at large.
Ted, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
keep going.
Are there any other nominations for members at large? Going once,
Or anyone.
going twice? Okay. We'll do
All right.
this again in June.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Next item of business is old business. Do we have any old business? Okay. Do we have any new business?
Yeah. I have new business.
Go ahead, Ted.
So the community board sent, I guess, to the members of the transportation committee, I don't know if it went elsewhere. The MTA is looking to provide a grant or to submit a grant for the Interborough Express project to further study it. And I was wondering if we plan as the community board to write a letter of support to that end.
Toby, has the committee looked into that and made a recommendation? Hello, Toby? Are you there? I guess he left. Anybody on the transportation committee recall any discussion on that matter?
He was muted. He's unmuted now.
Yeah, apologies for that. We've had some discussions. I think that there have been some concerns raised about exactly what the design would look like, but certainly something I'm happy to discuss at our next meeting and draft a response.
Thank you.
But I think the letter specified that they need a response by this Friday, which was actually very short notice, but
They would like a response, Ted.
yes. Okay,
You know, it's not like, oh, if you don't do it by Friday, tough noogies, you can never speak again.
all right.
I think they're
So-
unreasonable in not giving people more time to deliberate with regard to the matter.
I can agree with that. Okay. So we'll discuss it at, on the 17th?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh,
Also,
Fred, I
just on
saw you-
another note, that anecdotal information, when Gary gave his synopsis of how bad crime was in the 90s, even with those very high numbers, if you look at per capita, even in those dire times, New York City was on the bottom of the list of crimes of most major cities in this country. So whatever that's worth.
That's important.
Fred Haller, you had something?
Yeah, Good and Welfare, Glendale Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast is May 22nd at the Sacred Heart down in the gym. It's a nice little event and a good little fundraiser. And of course, you know, the Relay for Life is going to be coming up again in June, and we'll get more information to you on that. It's going to be limited, just afternoon into the evening, not overnight, but always a great event. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any other new business? If there's no further business, do I have motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I just have a quick question for the new, I guess, board members. Are we gonna go over which committees we've been assigned to?
The executive committee, when it meets, will notify the different committee chairs for their advice and consent, and then notify the new board members. We're sorry we haven't done that yet, but I can't keep Mr. Giordano out 24/7. He does have a life, and so do some of the other members of the executive committee.
Can I speak to that, Mr. Arcuri?
Go ahead.
Jasmine, what normally would happen is the executive committee would meet after the election, so it doesn't seem like the appointments have anything to do with the upcoming election of executive committee members. So I would expect that to take place after the elections, and hopefully sometime after June the 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
And
But
thanks
can
for the
we say that-
reminder.
Can we say that, if I could say something, we'd like to hear from you, maybe send an email with what committees
I
you would
think
like
she
to,
may have,
you're interested.
she may have already.
Okay,
Yeah, that's been done, Walter. Thank you.
the rest of the new members as well? Great, okay,
Yeah.
great, terrific.
Right? Any other business?
Did you get a committee list? Question mark?
I'm sorry? Repeat? Fred, you had something? Okay.
No, thanks.
If there's no further business, do I have motion to adjourn?
Motion to
I
adjourn.
moved.
Who, state your name, state your name.
Ken
and your-
Rayberger.
Oh, somebody was ahead of you.
Oh, I'm
Rachel.
sorry.
Tony Benanti.
Okay. Seconded by
Ken
Ray
Rayberger.
Berger.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you and good night.
Thanks a lot. Take good care.
Night. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.
9:30 on the dot,
Bye.
right?
Good night, everybody. Take care.
All right.